It seems to me that sin is a condition, a disease, incidental to man's development not being yet advanced enough. Morbidness over it increases the disease. We should think that 1,000,000 of years hence equity, justice, and mental and physical good order will be so fixed and organized that no one will have any idea of evil or sin. Question: What is your temperament? Answer: nervous, active, wide awake, mentally and physically. Sorry that nature compels us to sleep at all. If we are in search of a broken and contrite heart, clearly we need not look at this brother. His contentment with the finite encases him like a lobster shell, and shields him from all morbid repining at his distance from the infinite. We have in him an excellent example of the optimism which may be encouraged by popular science. To my mind, a current far more important and interesting religiously than that which sets in from natural science towards healthy-mindedness is that which has recently poured over America and seems to be gathering force every day. I am ignorant what foothold it may yet have acquired in Great Britain, and to which, for the sake of having a brief designation, I will give the title of the mind-cure movement. There are various sects of this new thought, to use another of the names by which it calls itself, but their agreements are so profound that their differences may be neglected for my present purpose, and I will treat the movement without apology as if it were a simple thing. It is a deliberately optimistic scheme of life, with both a speculative and a practical side. In its gradual development during the last quarter of a century, it has taken up into itself a number of contributory elements, and it must now be reckoned with as a genuine religious power. It has reached the stage, for example, when the demand for its literature is great enough for insincere stuff, mechanically produced for the market, to be to a certain extent supplied by publishers, a phenomenon never observed, I imagine, until a religion has got well past its earliest insecure beginnings. One of the doctrinal sources of mind-cure is the Four Gospels. Another is Emersonianism, or New England Transcendentalism. Another is Berkeleyan idealism. Another is Spiritism, with its messages of law and progress and development. Another, the optimistic popular science evolutionism, of which I have recently spoken. And finally, Hinduism has contributed a strain. But the most characteristic feature of the mind-cure movement is an inspiration much more direct. The leaders in this faith have had an intuitive belief in the all-saving power of healthy-minded attitudes as such, in the conquering efficacy of courage, hope, and trust, and a correlative contempt for doubt, fear, worry, and all nervously precautionary states of mind. Their belief has in a general way been corroborated by the practical experience of their disciples, and this experience forms today a mass imposing in amount. Footnote: Cautionary Verses for Children. This title of a much-used work, published early in the 19th century, shows how far the muse of evangelical Protestantism in England, with her mind fixed on the idea of danger, had at last drifted away from the original gospel freedom. Mind-cure might be briefly called a reaction against all that religion of chronic anxiety which marked the earlier part of our century in the evangelical circles of England and America. End footnote. The blind have been made to see, the halt to walk. Lifelong invalids have had their health restored. The moral fruits have been no less remarkable. The deliberate adoption of a healthy-minded attitude has proved possible to many who never supposed they had it in them. Regeneration of character has gone on an extensive scale, and cheerfulness has been restored to countless homes. the indirect influence of this has been great. The mind-cure principles are beginning so to pervade the air that one catches their spirit at second hand. One hears of the gospel of relaxation, of the "don't worry" movement, of people who repeat to themselves "youth, health, vigor" when dressing in the morning as their motto for the day. Complaints of the weather are getting to be forbidden in many households, and more people are recognizing it to be bad form to speak of disagreeable sensations, or to make much of the ordinary inconveniences and ailments of life. These general tonic effects on public opinion would be good even if the more striking results were non-existent. But the later abound so that we can afford to overlook the innumerable failures and self-deceptions that are mixed in with them, for in everything human, failure is a matter of course. And we can also overlook the verbiage of a good deal of the mind-cure literature, some of which is so moonstruck with optimism and so vaguely expressed that an academically trained intellect finds it almost impossible to read at all. The plain fact remains that the spread of the movement has been due to practical fruits, and the extremely practical turn of character of the American people has never been better shown than by the fact that this, their only decidedly original contribution to the systematic philosophy of life, should be so intimately knit up with concrete therapeutics. To the importance of mind-cure, the medical and clerical professions in the United States are beginning, though with much recalcitrancy and protesting, to open their eyes. It is evidently bound to develop still farther, both speculatively and practically, and its latest writers are far and away the ablest of the group. It matters nothing that, just as there are hosts of persons who cannot pray, so there are greater hosts who cannot by any possibility be influenced by the mind-curer's ideas. For our immediate purpose, the important point is that so large a number should exist who can be so influenced. They form a psychic type to be studied with respect. Footnote: lest my own testimony be suspected, I will quote another reporter, H. Goddard of Clark University, whose thesis on "The Effects of Mind on Body as Evidenced by Faith Cures" is published in the American Journal of Psychology. This critic, after a wide study of the facts, concludes that the cures by mind-cure exist, but are in no respect different from those now officially recognized in medicine as cures by suggestion. And the end of his essay contains an interesting physiological speculation as to the way in which the suggestive ideas may work. As regards the general phenomenon of mental cure itself, Dr. Goddard writes, quote, "In spite of the severe criticism we have made of reports of cure, there still remains a vast amount of material showing a powerful influence of the mind in disease. Many cases are of diseases that have been diagnosed and treated by the best physicians of the country, or which prominent hospitals have tried their hand at curing, but without success. People of culture and education have been treated by this method with satisfactory results. Diseases of long standing have been ameliorated and even cured. We have traced the mental element through primitive medicine and folk medicine of today, patent medicine and witchcraft. We are convinced that it is impossible to account for the existence of these practices if they did not cure disease, and that if they cure disease, it must have been the mental element that was effective. The same argument applies to those modern schools of mental therapeutics, divine healing and Christian Science. It is hardly conceivable that the large body of intelligent people who comprise the body known distinctively as mental scientists should continue to exist if the whole thing were a delusion. It is not a thing of a day. It is not confined to a few. It is not local. It is true that many failures are recorded, but that only adds to the argument. There must be many and striking successes to counterbalance the failures. Otherwise, the failures would have ended the delusion. Christian Science divine healing or mental science